Good afternoon. It is the 25th of September 2019. Let me know if this background music is too loud. Today's Wednesday, September 25th, and this is the BitMEX Altcoin Bull Market Watch live stream. And I think that we should all be ready because the altcoins look like they are still locked and loaded and ready for a launch. We're going to go through technical analysis of Litecoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Tron, Ripple, and we're going to quickly go through them, and then I'll take questions at the end. So I appreciate that you guys are joining me on this episode. We're going to go through each of those indicators, each of those markets rather, and then we'll review them against our indicators, the RSI, the on-balance volume, the MACD, and the Ichimoku cloud. And although I cannot get the chat to work up along the side, and I have no idea what is the deal, all of my settings are identical when it worked in the past, and it's just not refreshing. It's not coming up. Hey, there we go. Excellent. Glad that came up. And so we honor new subscribers. Be sure to click on subscribe if you're new to the channel, and you'll be featured on our page here. Let's jump in and take a look at what's going on in the markets. And before we do, I want to stop by this disclaimer and invite you to pause the video and read through it, because this isn't financial advice, just market observation. And I don't know if you hear the crowd cheering, but I want to say thank you to the patron sponsors who make this stream possible. Gunbot University Wally, thank you very much. Chris, Crypto Street, Julian, Carl, Patrick, Philip, Chris, and Usman, thank you again for your support of this channel. Good to have you along, Dean H. Let us jump into the main page. And before I do, for you to make the most sense and get the most value out of this live stream, be sure to go over to the website, IntroToCryptos.ca, and get the free webinar for this complete trading system. It really explains a lot more about what I'm talking about here, because I don't do day trading, even though we're talking about this every day. Now, before I go on, I want to segue back to a video from a few days ago, and I've got this queued up here, and I've never done this before to play a video while I'm doing a video, so let's see how this goes. These levels, this price could easily come back from where it is now back to the 50% level of their most recent move. And this is natural, normal price action that we would come to a 1, 2, 3 top. It would come back down into this 50% level and make another 1, 2, 3, testing these support levels from the history. And I've been really watching for this to happen, because this will be a real golden moment if that does happen. If these are tops right now and this RSI continues to break down, it gives us more specific things to really be watching for and be ready for when this sets up like this. Then we're not going to FOMO into the market when it's breaking out using a market order, which is the worst way to get into a trade. And I want to go on to talk about the MACD. This did cross negative. This is going in a negative direction, except that the 4-hour can oscillate all the way along here. Sounds like we got a fire truck coming by, so I will Now the Ichimoku. 1 hour time frame, this is getting more bearish. If it starts to break below these levels, we have some bearish stuff setting up that wasn't as clear this morning. So as this blue line crosses below the red, that's more bearish. If this starts to turn down and stay red, that's more bearish. If the trailing indicator cuts through, that's more bearish. But on the other hand, it's all good if it starts to go up above these levels. So that triangle of indecision, now we just really have to have the plan in place and then be there to implement it when it's unfolding. On the way up. Here's Litecoin. This is the third one now. We have to wait for the 4-hour to cross over. And we're leaning into the 1 hour to say, can you give us some bullish? A little bit of bullish, but still, this has to cross to the positive as well. I think they will, but I'm definitely have to start out thinking that I'm not correct, because it's not proving me correct. It's not showing me that, even though I think they will. So I have to trade by what they're telling me. It's going negative. The 4 hour is going negative. So it does look like it's going to be breaking lower. The on-balance volume wasn't very good. The relative strength index wasn't screaming it. Let's continue on and see what the Ichimoku cloud says for Litecoin on the 12-hour time frame. Okay, so I went back through the older videos, and they are fantastic to go through and review. Now, as we're zooming in on today's video, I want to reflect on what we just saw in the prior video, talking about this 1, 2, 3 top formation, break of this trend line. This was all setting up, and we were talking about a pullback to the 50% level of this internal range, which is pretty small actually when we're looking at it. So it blew past the 50% level, and it went all the way down to the 0.26 level. So even though it overdid my estimation, we were nailing it really good at this top formation here, really got it clear. Our indicators all matched up as the top formation came into play. So now what I want to do with this episode is to quickly go through ADA and get a longer term perspective, just to get an idea of where we are in terms of, I don't know, since April, since the Bitcoin dominance changed directions and has been squishing the alts to oblivion. Let's go back and take a look at BT's Bitcoin Cash. It has come down to brand new lows that disqualifies it from a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation for a while. So it kicks it right out of what I'm watching to buy into. This EOS just barely held its bottom. Now we have a double bottom, and we have some divergences to look for on this spot here. Ethereum actually wasn't my favorite before, and now it's jumped up into a 1, 2, 3 bottom that's held its bladder here, where everything else has been, pissing off this one held and is above these support and resistance levels. So this becomes more important as we are zooming in on it. Litecoin came down to a double bottom like EOS, and now it's giving us a place where we can look for those divergences off that double bottom and see what's setting up. TRX held itself as well, but came down to a double bottom. So as we zoom in on these and we see what the divergences are setting up at these double bottoms, I think we're going to see some pretty great stuff that we can use as another case study. Now, as we get into Ripple, this one, like Ethereum, is above this recent support and resistance from August, where the others are not. So Ethereum and Ripple are the leaders right now in these alts. They're setting up the best, first of all. Now, what I want to do is to get into our indicators and go through virtually the same sweep, but this time using the indicators. So if I clear this, and I want to go into the 4-hour time frame to take a look at what our indicators are telling us. Because as we were doing the previous episode, we were watching for the RSI to break on this trend line. It broke right here. So as it came below these mid levels, there's our signal that confirmed the 1, 2, 3 top formation. Really key. Now we're watching for divergences from here to here that the RSI is higher. We're also looking for a little divergence inside this, and we're looking closer now to see if we have a tiny little 1, 2, 3 formation at this support and resistance level that we could call home for our first little position in the longer term trend. Let's go into the next indicator, because I want to stay on the same indicator from market to market so that we can start to see this break on that spot right there coincided with a break below the mid level in the RSI. Let's go to EOS on the same time frame. A break of this 1, 2, 3 top formation was more obvious because we had a really good divergence that we were calling out days in advance. And even though I wanted it to be bullish, I shouldn't have any wanting. I should just be a reflection of whatever the market is telling. So when I go into Ethereum, we had pretty good setup here. But as this top set up, then we had the divergence, and it was confirming this break of the uptrend line. That's getting messy. But now, again, it's the break below these levels. So I would like to see this make a stronger formation that builds up a little bit of meat above these levels and then take off. I'd like to see this come back and retest and give us a tiny little 1, 2, 3 bottom right in this area before it takes off. I'd like to see that. And I don't know. What I want to do with this is to give us a general idea of what all of the markets are doing, because that gives us the specifics for all of them. They all copy. So this isn't a very good divergence off this double bottom on this time frame. And I'm looking for it just to see if it's here. TRX. Okay, this is setting up better. All of them are setting up at least that they are holding and not going down to lower lows. We have higher lows here. Another great setup of the, what I call the springboard pattern. And I teach more specifics about the springboard pattern inside our course you can find on the website. And this is setting up so that we are almost seeing the divergences, not quite ready yet. Ripple was setting up here this morning with that little 1, 2, 3, and I flipped out of my Bitcoin short and went long on Ripple. Woo. Boom. Did you see that guy catching air on that skateboard? Thank you for the $2 tip. I appreciate that. Yeah, I changed the music. Let me go back to the chat. I'm not looking over at it. Where is it? I appreciate it. Dean H, good to have you along. Alts do look to be making gains against Bitcoin right now. Yeah, I think it's showing that they're holding themselves. I was thinking of you in the 1, 2, 3 bottoms. Awesome, Anthony. I'm glad to hear that. It's not my invention. I didn't make it up. I learned it from Ken Roberts from the World's Most Powerful Money Manual and Course. And I was able to order that for myself on March the 3rd. I think it was 1995 when I ordered that course. And I learned about the 1, 2, 3 bottom, and I've been studying it ever since. And that's why I like to teach it here, because it really, really works. But it's really slow. Now, what I'm looking for here is these divergences in the RSI to give us the backing on all of these coins that they're all making the bottom. And when we can see that they are all making the bottom, then we have more juice for actually taking a position. This I'm going to go through quickly, the on balance volume, because I just want to compare what's going on the front edge for each of these coins so that we're getting a perspective. The front edge of this one, then BCH, not very much. I like the pattern there though. And EOS, not so much. A lot of dumping. It hasn't really recovered up to any buying. But Ethereum is considerably different. After that dump, this had quite a bit of buying going on there. So we have a lot bit different buying pattern just in the recent bits here with Ethereum. When we go on to Litecoin, this has a different buying pattern as well. After the dump, there's quite some good spikes of buying. And for me, this is institutions knowing that when it dumps, there are all sorts of people ready to dump into it. And that's the best time for liquidity to take on a large position. As the market is failing, as it's coming back, and you get a whole bunch of big sell orders above the market, they can take a big bite without moving the market hard. Then they can just sit back and they go for their martinis or whatever, probably soda water. Or now a TRX, this is a better post-dump buying pattern. I like the buying pattern here. I like the buying pattern here. And the post-dump buying pattern is nice in this one, especially since we're seeing a 1, 2, 3 formation setting up against these historical levels. It's killer. It's amazing. This is where you would put on a very small bit of your position. And then let me zoom out so I get some space on this. Once you've put on a small bit of your position, you would be sitting and doing nothing until at least that it bounced off here. And maybe you could add on to the position here. So your initial entry here, and if you doubled your position, then your average entry is in the middle, and you can still have your stop loss above your average entry cost when you added on to the position here. So how you set up these add-ons is so important. I've added on wrong so many times and made a great trade turn into a little loss. It took me a long time to actually learn it and start doing it. Now Ripple, actually, I'm surprised, it doesn't have the same post-dump. Oh, I'm in the wrong time frame. 1 hour, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. So when we're zoomed into the close time frame, post-dump, this had juice. Post-dump, Ethereum had juice. Post dump, Litecoin had juice, but the others didn't. TRX is now. EOS? No, not so much. So it just doesn't run to the front of my line for coins to be jumping on right now. Later, when it picks up, maybe we could look into it. But there are only 3.5 coins that are showing good volume right now. Now, ADA, if we go into the MACD indicator on the 4-hour time frame, this was kicking butt right here, and I was doubting it as this was coming up to these levels. I was wanting this to be continuing off higher. And I was asking for the 1 hour, MACD. Can you cross positive for us here? This would give us our up signal. And no, it didn't go at all. So it gave us the advanced warning, and it's the matter of respecting that advanced warning when we're having these formations. Let's go into the 1 hour time frame. We see that it is crossed positive now. So now we could have the 4 hour come into a positive state. As this breaks above these levels, it could give us what we're looking for. I want to go back to the 4 hour time frame, and I want to stay on this time frame as I go from chart to chart today. This is not looking good. You see, this is wider. On the EOS, not looking so good. It's almost coming up to cross. And I got to go back. Sorry. Because I just noticed another thing that I didn't notice as I was doing the preparation here. That's lower. This is higher and that's lower. That's not as good as I wanted it to be. So if we go to BCH, this is lower, and I saw it was lower, and I thought, okay, that's the way it should be. This is broken down below its recent lows. It should be pretty crappy, and it is. But then I went on to EOS, and this is higher than its recent lows, but lower in the MACD crossover. So it takes more wind out of the sail for this one, where maybe it's taken off, but I would wait a bit to establish anything long on this one. Ethereum, however, is coming up to crossover, and we have even versus higher lows. We'll watch how that unfolds and see how this plays out over the next couple days. But should the 4 hour cross positive as we're breaking out of this, it's worth a small position in my risk control rules. Litecoin just coming up to crossover. I'd like it to establish a bit more juice on this on the 4 hour time frame. The exponential moving averages crossed to the negative. So yeah, I would like it to take a bit more time here, cross to the positive, give me a 1, 2, 3 that at least in the 1 hour time frame is crossing to the positive. At least here, this has to cross to the positive. This is good. But and it could be that it's going to break right above these levels and go. And yet it may be prudent to wait a little bit. It may go sideways for a while. And we want to try to filter out those sideways markets with these type of analyses. So now here on TRX, still coming to cross to the positive, but we've got a lower cross here, slightly lower, and we've got slightly higher prices. I'm still bullish on this. I like this chart pattern, even though this isn't as beautiful as I'd like it to be. I know that when I go into the 1 hour time frame, this is looking much better. If I zoom right into the 15-minute time frame, which generally is whale food area, this is at least confirming what we're talking about in the longer term time frame. And so looking at the short term time frame for that confirmation is okay. Trading by that time frame makes you whale food. Whoops, wrong chart. Now I want to go to Ripple, because look at the difference in Ripple here. This is the only one that has crossed that positive on the 4 hour time frame. And it's part of the reason that I flipped out of Bitcoin, my Bitcoin short this morning, and went into Ripple instead of any of the others here that are also looking pretty good. That crossover in Ripple was happening already this morning, and I jumped on that. I have a long. I have my stop above my entry, so now my job is done. I wait for the market to tell me what's up next. Now I want to scan through all of these with this indicator, then I'll go back and catch up on the chat. ADA, 4 hour time frame. What I want to confirm here is what we saw the other day on that video is the 1, 2, 3 top formation. We got a tiny little 1, 2, 3 here. We got a larger 1, 2, 3 nesting, and that 4 hour crossed. We had the cross over here before it went through. Let's check out the rest of them. Did we have the 4-hour cross before it plunged through? We did. We had the 1, 2, 3 top. We had this crossover kind of like the MACD crossing before it actually crashed. A leading indicator? Is this getting even more juice out? Like, I'm getting more respect for this. Negative, positive, negative, negative. As this is all setting up, and we had some great divergences in the MACD and the relative strength index on EOS. It was giving us, looking back, it was giving us a very strong top formation signal. All those things add together, and it's just amazing how this is proving itself out over and over again. There it is. Love to see it. I'm not going to miss this next time on the 4-hour time frame when that crosses over and we're in a top formation, or if it crosses over and we're doing a 1, 2, 3 bottom and it crosses, then we're into some more juice. You know what? I didn't even look at these to see if they're crossing positive yet. TRX crossed negative, not crossing positive, even though we have this little formation going on there. Ripple, it is kind of crossing positive, but it also went negative with the others at the same time. So now Ripple has crossed positive both in the 4-hour MACD and the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud before the others have, which gives us lead notice for my own thinking that when this starts to cross and we're breaking above these levels, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for choppy markets yet. And I'll just go into a little segue. I am anticipating chop in the markets all the way along here. And until it breaks above these levels, I am considering everything chop. So I want to have a 2-layered position approach to it. I want to play so that I'm not feeling like I'm missing out with a small position inside this chop. I may take off that position as this tops in this area. And I'm not going to get into my bigger position until we've actually changed directions and it's actually showing me that the trend is going this way. Then I'm going to play with my bigger position. But until then, all of this I'm going to consider chop as it comes up. I'm going to be really defensive watching for top formations until it breaks above these levels. I could play it above these levels. And I may, I could go nano, micro, and then normal, and maybe later macro. As this is building up and showing us the trend that we could actually sink our teeth into with some real trend lines on both sides of it. Until then, it is sideways, choppy market, and really don't want to invest heavy in it. Not until it shows us that it's not just a sideways choppy market, but it's something to invest in. Keep your stops protected and ready, and we'll be on our way for it. So I hope you guys find this helpful and interesting that we go through these indicators. I know that by putting the 1, 2, 3 formation together with these set of indicators, it is nailing it. Way better than my opinion. I'm wanting to be bullish. I'm a natural bull, so I have that bias. And yet by going through this, it has helped clearing up some of that bias. Nothing like getting your ass kicked in a video. 3 days later, you're going, oh, okay, I was all bullish and it really crashed hard. And this is sort of what happened I got to zoom back on the wrong chart. This is what happened in Bitcoin for me in November. I was super bullish through this as things were building up and we were seeing these big moves going on and the buildup of the markets coming up here. We had positive on balance volume. The RSI was looking great. Everything was awesome. And then after reviewing it afterwards, we can see the Ichimoku cloud was absolutely just laughing at me on the 1-day view. And I didn't get it wrong this time. I had a fantastic short, made over 100% profit. It was a small trade, so it's nothing to change the banking setup for, but it was phenomenal to watch it play out and to see it days and days in advance, pick up that short. And I've already closed it. I probably could have left it open until it comes down to these levels, but I jumped into a Ripple long right off of those levels. We'll see how that goes. Let me go back to the chat. Where is it now? My super chat question, given how oversold you are, why is Bitcoin not a buy? Bitcoin is not a buy until it makes a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation and we have an exponential moving average crossover to the positive. So let's go through Bitcoin, through all of these indicators. Let's go back here, 1 day view. So I can zoom out now to the 1 year view. And I'll go to the next indicator. So we go to the 1 year view of Bitcoin in the MACD, or the other indicator. So first of all, in the daily view, the Ichimoku cloud says no go, nothing buying until we're above that cloud. So we've got a long way to go before that's going to happen. And if I zoom in now on the Ichimoku cloud in the 12-hour time frame, nothing doing here, no buy signals, no turnaround, nothing. This is a trend following thing that's just nothing going on here. It could bounce, it could take off, but this isn't enough for a mountain climber to put his toe on in the way I trade. Otherwise, it's going to be breaking down lower. And we'll go in, we'll get in closer to see if there's some divergences that give it some juice. Maybe it will bounce up, but if it does bounce up here, it is a sell signal in a downtrend. And that's what I'll be looking for, is a 1, 2, 3 top formation anywhere that it comes up here and it starts to hesitate. As soon as it's given that top formation, I am selling. We're in a downtrend. Everything is facing downward right now. In the 15-minute time frame, this is your first friend in the Ichimoku cloud. That we have a triple bottom like this and it's poking up above that. That's your first friend. And you could do nano trades on this now. You could do a nano trade on that. And if it breaks up above these levels and starts, and it's starting to show that it's changing directions, you could start staging higher. But this is whale food territory when you're into this zone. And if we're trying to catch a trend, which is what I'm trying to do in this channel, this isn't it. Now I'm looking for a sell signal in the downtrend as this comes up. Let's go into the other indicators to see what they're telling us. So from this time frame, of course, we can see it's very oversold. Not nearly as oversold as it was before. And you can see as we came down to these levels and we were dropping and we were oversold, but there was still like a shelf to go down. As we went down and down, the RSI was diverging majorly for a long time. And I was watching this through this entire time going, look at the divergence. It's going to take off. It's going to take off. Finally, on December the 17th, it did. But it took a long time for this divergence to actually play itself out. Same for here. It's going to take some time. There's a lot of momentum in this. Let's go zoom in now to see what we're saying. This is very oversold as well. And it could bounce straight up from here. It really could. But again, this was oversold for quite a while as we were fighting this out on the way down here. It may not be the same, but got to pay attention that it could spend quite a bit of time there. If I zoom into the 4-hour time frame now, this is the first one that's given us a bit of love. And if I go back to where that 4-hour time frame was super oversold here we hit it 3 times. Bam, bam, bam. As we were coming down. So it hit super oversold, super oversold, super oversold. And while you are trending down, the RSI will stay oversold, oversold, oversold. If I go to the 5-year view and we are trending up, it stays overbought, overbought, overbought. It gets to be less valuable indicator when you are inside the trend. So now I'll zoom back in, go to the 1-hour time frame. This is giving us divergence. It is giving us that little wee spot that you could do a little micro trade. It is giving the 1, 2, 3 bottom. And it is given that divergence. So it is a micro trade. As soon as you start zooming in on these smaller time frames, your trade must get smaller for my own trading. Because I'm trying to add on for a trend for myself. I try not to day trade because every time I've tried to day trade, I get my ass handed to me. And I've done so much better with a specific trading plan. I tried 4 different trading plans and 4 different accounts and I ran them for a year and a half. And the one that did the best is the one that I've focused on now. Let's zoom in to the next indicator because I want to see the dumpage pattern here. Dumpage, dumpage, dumpage. More and more dumpage. And we're not down. Well, actually, we took some pretty big hits of selling here. Pretty big. Let's zoom in to the 12-hour time frame. dumping, 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 dumping. Remember how we were watching for this pattern where we had buying, 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 pumping, buying, buying, pumping? We didn't have it. We kind of did, and then it faded off. We had dumping, dumping, dumping. If we zoom into the 4-hour time frame, I was still even looking for some juice in the 4-hour time frame to say, do we have anything similar to what we had as we were going to be breaking out higher? And we didn't. It was a different buying pattern here. All of us selling, a couple little whooshes of buying, but overall, through this whole period, there's a lot more selling than buying as there was here. So if we just take like this as a mirror image, one side of the other, and switch it right that day, look at the difference between the buying and somebody said, no, now we're all selling. And there's the difference on that day. Amazing, actually. I like it. I'm glad we went through this. Let's zoom into the 1-hour time frame to see the nature of this dumpage here. Super big and less. That's good. But in the 1-hour time frame, it's not turned to positive buying. In the 15-minute time frame, hardly positive buying. So just not, I'm just looking for the short on this as it comes up, and the hopeful bears are, trying to bag it back up. As it makes a top formation in here, it. We're going to be looking for a short on that. Looking to document it, whether we do it or not doesn't matter. It's practicing this in your mind so that your brain gets used to these patterns. So here was the lower crosses, lower crosses, lower crosses fail. And all the way along here, one thing I'm not pointing out is the exponential moving average crossover. Cross to the positive, happy, happy. Negative, oh, bad. Positive, oh, maybe. Negative, uh-oh. And if we go into the 12-hour time frame, it crossed to the negative back here and didn't cross positive. As much as we were wanting it to, no way. It stayed negative. And that is a really key indicator for me. When this started to fail and go down and down negative, as this was unfolding, you can go back and check the thumbnails in my Bitcoin trading YouTube channel. And all the way through, you could see the thumbnails talking about, is 10K our top now? It was a pretty bearish change from this moment here. Then I changed to being much more bearish. Now let's zoom in, see if this gives us any love in the short time frame. It could be crossing positive. And the 1-hour time frame, we saw this did cross positive. 15-minute time frame, it's crossed positive, giving us a little bit of love, but without the support of everything else, this is weak. It still feels weak to me. So this is sort of why it may be that it pumps up from here, but for everything I'm seeing, it's not giving us the strength that it needs. I need some more juice now. I forgot to continue on the pointing out the cross of the exponential moving averages, because part of my position is to get out on the 4-hour exponential moving average cross, and the other part is to get out of the rest of my position on the 12-hour exponential moving average cross. Those are my two biggest entry and exit moves. So the 12-hour is really key for me on an entry here, and then the 4-hour is an important one for part of the exit. So in this, ideally, I buy in here and I get out here and I get out there, and then I'm not, hopefully I'm doing a very small trade maybe, and I'm going to rebuild my position if it's building up higher or proves me right. But it would have been prudent just to have closed my positions at that time and go and trade gold and silver instead of watching Bitcoin and alts, actually. Shouldn't be stuck just on altcoins. We shouldn't be stuck just on Bitcoin. If we're trading, and we only have $500, we should have $100 in stocks, $100 in gold and silver, $100 in cryptocurrencies, and get used to whichever market is going up, or that's the one we're making the money in. Alrighty, let me go back to the chat. And thank you for bringing that up again, because I didn't read it. So XRP USD looking good. Lucky Geo go. I have around 25 Litecoin at the minute. Do you think I should continue to hold? I think your 25 Litecoin will turn into about $20,000 in the next year and a half if you hold. And I could be completely wrong. Let's go to a long-term view of Litecoin. I do believe that this is just the beginning for Litecoin, but on the weekly view, it has not crossed positive yet. It's coming, but not yet. On the 12-hour view, this looks pretty pretty bad actually. It looks pretty bad. And if I go into the 4-hour time frame, that looks bad. No, that's 12-hour. 4-hour time frame is finally crossing positive. Yeah, I think actually Litecoin, for my own part, for the way I like to trade, and I'll tell you the trouble with the way I like to trade, as well as the benefit of the way I like to trade, is that I'm looking, of course it's alts, so you're looking to buy low, sell high for the most part. Look for the downtrend, look for the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation, and then you start your position here and you add on to your position there. You get ready to get out when the 4-hour crosses and the 12-hour crosses. Done. So when it comes down to historical lows, then I'm watching for it. The trouble is, if I pull this chart back and I start going through something like this and saying, okay, I'm looking for that bottom formation, looking for the bottom formation, looking for the bottom. This could be the bottom formation. We could look into this. Looks like a 1, 2, 3 formation. It could be turning around here. You get all ready for it, and then it fails. Then you go down to the next one. It's consolidating a little bit here. It looks like it could be setting up, so you get ready for it, and then it fails. So it's a real long-term strategy, and it's for something that you're going to wait and wait and wait. Look at this. This one was another one that got ready, looked like a nice bottom formation, looked like it was taking off, really nice volume, and then down we went for another long time. And so trading these bottom formations is phenomenal looking back. Trading them looking forward is kind of a pain in the ass, because this could continue going down, or it could just continue going sideways for months. And then you're sitting there holding this stuff, twiddling your thumb, waiting for it. So this is one of the reasons it's got a couple filters in this trading plan, that it has to break the downtrend line, has to make the 1, 2, 3 formation, and has to break the exponential moving average crossover. That keeps us out of sideways markets and only into markets that are starting to show that they're changing directions. So those are my 2 cents on Litecoin. And I think it may be a while here in these ranges, but as this starts to go, I do believe that we are going to see it go to levels it's never been before. We're going to go past old all-time highs. This is the world economy changing. This is proven money. This has got a long-term history to it. And I want to watch this for the nitro moments in this all the way up, when that starts to make a pattern like that. It may be waves as it goes, and all of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wavers will just love it. Definitely a time in history to be into it, and you know now where the bottom formations are, so that's important to pay attention to. Now, let me see. Back to the chat here. Thanks again for your analysis. I appreciate you being here, Dean. Beckham, how much Satoshi do you think AID will reach by 2019? This is a great question, and I love it, because you should never ask that question. Even though I just said I think this is going to go to $800, the main thing that our job is that everybody confuses, and I see everybody, 95% of the people confusing. You believe that it's your job to make money by trading, and it's not. Our job is only to prevent our account from losing money. That's it. After that, the job is up to the markets. And most of us want to micromanage the markets and try to figure out where it's going to go. And that's the market's job, to tell us where it's going to go. It will tell us how correct we are. All we can do is know how wrong we are and keep our losses small. So because there's so many things that you can never know about what is coming up in the markets, you've always got to assume that you are wrong when you put on your trade. You always got to assume it. In the school world and in the work world and in driving your car and doing your taxes and everything else, everything's got to be right. You can't make a mistake, otherwise you get punished. But in trading, it's not bad to make a mistake. It's not bad to be wrong. In fact, you're wrong so often that you have to assume that you're going to be wrong and that it's normal and natural to be wrong. And if you're going to be wrong, then you're going to start off with a small bit of your position and you're going to add on to it only when you're proven correct. So that's the market having now prove us correct. As soon as it's proven me correct, I put my stop above my entry, and I don't know how correct I am going to be. I really don't. I have to take every one of these trading signals because it could be the trend that's going to make the big money this year, but most likely it's not. Most likely it's going to be more sideways action, a little fake out, breakout, and a pullback. Most likely all of that stuff. And so I have to get my stop and use my risk control rules all the time, all the time, all the time. Then once it proves me correct, it's important that I do nothing. I got to hold my winners. I've got to sit on it. I can't think about where it's going to be taking the profit. The market has to tell me, and I have to wait. When does the market tell me? Since I can't decide. 1, 2, 3 top formation, exponential moving average crossover, uptrend line break. Exactly the opposite of the entry, downtrend line break, 1, 2, 3 top formation, exponential moving average crossover. And so my profit is in between here and here, not from here to here, as everybody will say, oh, if you had got in on our signal and got out at the top, you would have made 1,000%. But the reality you could have made is 600% out of that 1,000, really. And so hopefully that helps in answer that question. How far it will reach for ADA? Then I go back to my 50% rule. Where I'm really watching for is the 50% of this move and then the 50% of this move, which, if I could scribble in there, is here and here. Those are the major places that ADA is going to in the long term. And we may look for something like this. And that the market giveth and it taketh away. The market giveth and it taketh away. It giveth and it taketh away. So you have to be ready on those crossovers to be ready to get out so that you know where your landing strip is before you take off your plane. You already know where your targets are, what you're going to do, what it's going to look like, what your indicators are going to be telling you, when the moving averages cross over. All of that stuff has to be practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. And then when it happens, you just recognize it and you just do it. And that's why I do these live streams. It is my future practice. It is my going back over my historical stuff and learning from where I had a bias in the market and I was super ready to go rock and roll as things were breaking out above these levels. I was figuring we are continuing on. And so by doing this stuff and reviewing it, I can clearly see where my biases are in exactly which chart pattern and what moment in the chart I am worst at as well. 1, 2, 3, bottom, breaking out, killer moment if you're not ready in advance with your risk control rules. Right there, murder. And then you're holding your bag holder going, oh, waiting. Eventually it'll come back up. But if you're doing margin trading, it doesn't come back up because you lose money. You don't. It's not just that your coins go down in value and then they come back up in value. If you're margin trading and you're using Bitcoin on leverage and you lose some of that, you've lost some of your Bitcoin. You've lost some of the coins that you have when you're doing margin trading. So it's much more difficult when you're doing margin trading than doing real trading. And these danger areas have to become screamingly loud in your ears and in mine so that as we're coming up to them and I'm talking about them in the live stream, you've got to say, hey, this is like the worst moment. So let me go back into the chat here. So this is the best risk and rewards trader on YouTube. Nothing like getting your ass handed to you several times to start learning where is exactly the risk in it. Where can I minimize my risk and where can I put the nitro on? Where is it safe? It's just too many times I've lost money. XMR looks like a good buy right now. Let me correct you on that. And I could be wrong. But look at this down trend. Look at my signal here that I wrote a long time ago as I was making. What's my most dangerous time? The 1, 2, 3 bottom formation almost breaking out. There, got to use the risk control rule. Start off small. Here it is again. Got to start off small. Let it prove you correct. Give you that cushion to jump on before you're going long. So there's nothing to put your foot onto here. There is no 1, 2, 3 bottom at all. We've got lower lows. We've got lower highs. For me, the next move of this is pull it back so we can see it. There. And it'll probably coincide with the Security and Exchange Commission announcing that anonymous coins can no longer be on any US exchange because they can't track what the criminals are doing for whatever the criminals are doing. And that's just my own bias. But since it's in a downtrend, I couldn't touch it. In fact, there were sell signals we were talking about all the way along here. Because I've been biased like this all the way along. So this can't be a buy signal until it makes the 1, 2, 3 and builds some structure, changes the other direction, gets a bit above this stuff. I can put on a micro trade, gets up above these levels and start to show me that it's actually changing direction. Now I'll be okay. But I don't think so. And I think that Dash, unfortunately, is also going to suffer the same fate. And look at that. This has come back to massive historical lows. Really, quite a killer for this. Quite a killer. And you know, the worst of it is the top price right here was right when they had a big conference. The build up before the conference and the top formation occurred on the days of the conference. And right after that conference, everything absolutely tanked. It got its way back up again, but this was a tough market to trade. And I just can't. None of the anonymous coins, even if they're making bottom formations, I'm just not keen on them. None of them. Even if it's breaking up above here, and I would trade it if it's breaking up above and it's making the 1, 2, 3 formation, but I'm going to be really wary. I'm going to be really wary of it 1, 2, 3 breaking out and coming back. So I'll have my stop above it. I'm not adding on to it until it shows me that it's actually changing direction. Then I can put my nitro on, but nope. XMR versus USD. I see. I'd never look at the charts versus USD. And the reason is I want to grow my Bitcoin. Even if Bitcoin price is going down, I want to trade my alts so that eventually I'm continuing to build more Bitcoin that I can put in cold storage and keep and whatever. And the reason for that is I believe Bitcoin, no matter if it's bouncing down right now, eventually it's going to be hitting $100,000 each. And the US dollar isn't. It is depreciating all the time. Some people are saying that Bitcoin actually didn't go up during this period here. It stayed the same value. It's the US dollar that's been dropping that fast. The Bitcoin's the only thing staying still to notice how fast the US dollar is dropping. And so I don't compare against the US dollar. Although when I do cash out, of course, I compare it to the fiat currency, cash it out. But other than that, I just don't pay attention to it except for Bitcoin prices. Everything else is against Bitcoin. So there's the answer for why do you review these alts in Bitcoin versus not US dollar is because in March of 2017 to July of 2017, of course, everybody knows the story of this period of time because alts went up 4,000%. And I had $20,000 worth of alts at this time, and it went to $200,000 worth of alts at this time. And then my alts went up in value US dollar wise through this period of time, right from here to here. My alts went up in US dollar value, but Bitcoin went up way, way, way more. And I held my alts through most all of that and not predominantly Bitcoin. And so I call it my $500,000 mistake, because my $100,000 worth of alts went up to $500,000 US dollar value. But if I had flipped them all over to Bitcoin at this time when Bitcoin dominance made its switch, I would have had $1.2 million and not 500,000. So I call it my $500,000 mistake. And in that $500,000 mistake, I had to learn about Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance made this top formation here, and I cashed in big time here. But as it was pulling back through this whole time here, I should have been in Bitcoin, not in altcoins. And I didn't know to watch Bitcoin dominance this way, even though Tone Vase was telling us that Bitcoin is crushing everything. It's going to be the only coin. The other coins are going to nothing. I wouldn't buy it, even as they faded back. And so I learned to pay no attention to the US dollar, because I was all happy that my cryptos were going up in value. But really, I lost out on $500,000 because I was in the wrong place. I wasn't watching the right thing. And so because of this big mistake and everything that I've learned since that time, I've put together a spreadsheet that covers all of the altcoins on Binance and Poloniex. And I am tracking them along with AOL Chandra. We're tracking them day by day to go over where they are in the 1, 2, 3 bottom formations, so that we can know en masse which coins are the ones to be building into our portfolio and exactly when to unfold that portfolio. So we can see here, well, it's not very easy to see, but these blue lines are the unfolding moments to get out. When it turns blue, this is kicking you out of the market. It's the exponential moving averages crossing over. And so we had some great trades here that got us in on the 12-hour crossover and out on the 4-hour crossover. And we monitored all of those. We tracked them all. We made reports on all of them. And this spreadsheet is available to you if you're interested in it. I would appreciate your support to help this channel come along. Come and visit us over on our Patreon channel, and I'll tell you more about this spreadsheet. So right now, the spreadsheet is showing that many of the alert coins have pulled back to a neutral status. Many of the hold coins have pulled back from hold into a exit status, and they're back into neutral. But as we've seen in this episode, many of them are right at the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation and ready to be breaking out. And all of our indicators are telling us that the time is near to get ready, as these are building these formations now. Boom. So if you margin trade and you get stopped out into a falling BTC, that sucks. No, I'm only talking about short-term trades. If you margin trade and get stomped into a falling well, you can margin trade these coins, or you can margin trade Bitcoin, which is why I'm focusing on ADA, EOS, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tron, and Ripple, is because you can margin trade them for some pretty crazy margins over on BitMEX. And so you put in Bitcoin, and then you're trading against the price movements on these and on Bitcoin. And so you can start off with a 2-to-1 leverage trade to the short side on these top formations. You can put on a 2-to-1 leverage trade with your Bitcoin to the long side on these, and wait for it to build up and give you some profit on that trade before adding on to the big one. So margin trading is pretty interesting. There are some different ways to approach it. It is a different game than just buying and holding alts. But I like it because I am practicing doing the short trades and made a good whack off of that Bitcoin drop there. So wouldn't your $500,000 mistake have been mitigated by cashing your alts into USD? Yes, if I had cashed out of alts into BTC, I would have made 1.2 million instead of just the 500,000. Would have made a huge difference in my life. But I don't know, like I would just skip out of the US dollar and Canadian dollar at all. Completely. Their history. They're still hanging on, but their history, their past, and they are depreciating assets. My dad used to buy a loaf of bread for 10 cents, 15 cents back in 1945 when he was a kid. Now we're paying $4, and that's because of the depreciation of the dollar itself. It is a depreciating, it's like inflation. That's what happens with it. And it's going to continue to be inflation as they print more and more of them. So for me, I don't pay attention to it at all, except to value things against, but I don't trade against it for sure. In these alts, we're into a whole new world now. Step into it and stop thinking in terms of US dollar, except for the distant part of it, really, for my own thinking. There is the time to go into fiat. There is a time to go into a stable coin, any kind of stable coin. And this moment would have been it, right? Because everything was going down. Bitcoin was dropping and alts were dropping. So as Bitcoin is dropping, where's a shorter time frame? If Bitcoin is dropping and Bitcoin dominance is rising, then stablecoin is the only place to be. But if Bitcoin is rising and Bitcoin dominance is dropping, then altcoins are the place to be. Right now, I see Bitcoin dominance making this beautiful top formation. I zoomed in too close, but look at this. 1, 2, 3, little wee tiny 1, 2, 3 top formation. We were watching it as it unfolded, and it's made a bigger 1, 2, 3 and a tiny little 1, 2, 3 right here. Then a bigger 1, 2, 3 nested inside of those. Now it came back and tested for that 1, 2, 3 from the bottom and failed. This is a sell signal in a downtrend. That's what I'm looking for in Bitcoin right now, to do something like this. Come up and give me that sell signal. So for me, this is telling me that the alts are stepping up. Especially if this breaks below these levels, then this will be the altcoins breaking out of their 1, 2, 3 bottom formations right there. They'll all be breaking out, all of them en masse. Well, maybe half of them, and the other half will be lagging for the next round. They are stable, waiting for pad. They are stable, though, waiting for pad until next moon. That's right. And replace USD with stablecoin. Yeah, stablecoin, USD, I don't know. I stay out of most all of them. Got to get some zeal. There's a ton of really great alts, and if you are interested, come and check out our crypto signals. We go through everything on Binance, and we give very specific details on entries, exits, stop loss orders. We follow them along, and we send out those notifications through our Discord chat. We also have a spreadsheet that you can log into the website and sort them by risk to reward ratio, sort them by Satoshi price level, sort them by their alphabet, so that you can really start getting through to see exactly which of the coins that are making the bottom formations that are giving alerts right now. And there's a swarm of them. It's an important time to be paying attention, especially as we see Bitcoin dominance doing what it's doing. This is an important time. So anyway, I think I'll sign off on this live stream. I've got to get ready for yoga starting up shortly here. So 1 hour stream is awesome. I thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the $2 tip, but we didn't get one subscriber during the stream. So if you're on the stream and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button for me. And I'll sign off for now and wish you guys all the best in your crypto trading. Bye for now.